Hi, Mr. Schumacher. We are doing our project on the similarities and differences between the social structure in ancient Egypt and current modern day. So, the first question is, on what basis is your current event and your historical event similar, and what do they have in common? So, obviously, in ancient Egypt, there was a clear separation in the social structures. There was a like rich groups, and then there was a middle class, and then there were like the farmers, and you had like the kings on top. And similarly today, we have sort of like political leaders and billionaires and company owners on the top, and the working class is on the bottom. And this shows a lot of continuity over time, because even though, in history class in like sixth grade, we were learning about why the social class structure is a problem, and unfortunately, it is still the same way today. And that shows something about continuity, where even if you learn that it's bad, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to change.
Yeah, and we also discussed how your social class affects the healthcare that you get. So although that the social class structure has stayed somewhat similar, the different opportunities for healthcare and medical care have arose, such as more hospitals with better supplies for people with in lower classes, and just more clinics that make it more affordable for people.
Yeah, so, and then the third question is, what seems more pronounced or important about your comparison, and is there more change or continuity over time? There's a little bit of both. So there's a lot of continuity with the way that the social classes actually are, and the advantages that people who are higher up have, and their way of life. But like Annabelle said, there's a big change in pretty much just surviving in these societies now, because something as small as a bottle of insulin that someone who's diabetic needs to survive is marked up like 250% more in the price as a cost to make it. And that's just one example of how expensive it is to just live now. So that is a big change in what life is like now versus what it was like in ancient Egypt, because now you find yourself with a lot more ability to become healthier. Like if you get sick, there are more options, but it's accessibility, which is the problem. It's, if I'm not able to get health insurance because my job doesn't pay for my health insurance, then can I even get this healthcare that we have invented?
Yeah, and although some clinics have already been placed, a bigger solution is to just ensure that there are more specialty services and clinics that can help the poorer population, so that they can get the same healthcare as people in the higher classes do. Yeah.
And this matters, and is obviously very important, because I don't think that your spot on the social structure, and unfortunately, this is sort of controversial, but I don't think that your spot on the social structure should determine whether or not you live for another year. Like, I don't think that your job should determine whether or not you can get the medicine that you need to survive. And this is an ongoing issue. Um, has progress been made? Sort of. There were things that happened, such as Obamacare, and health insurance is obviously great for jobs that pay a little bit less, but they still like cover dental insurance and things like that. But it's still a very widespread social issue. So yeah, thank you.
Starting off on question number two, I think it's safe to say that our current event is different because while there are without a doubt improvements to be made, the social class structure has stayed somewhat similar, of course, but at the same time there are more opportunities compared to what people had in ancient Egyptian times, such as medical care, such as facilities, and such as things like subsidies for the poor. These little things that help social mobility. But all in all, our current event and ancient Egypt, we can make pretty good comparisons to both of those events. And then for question number five, I think for most people, the answer to that question is obvious, that social mobility is a problem that we need to address. Um, and that in Egypt, the backbone of society was 80% of the people, the masses, and it's sort of similar to how the working class works now in America. So there, you can definitely draw ties between those two areas. So it is indeed a problem we need to address.